Yo, what's up guys? You saw it in the video yesterday. I did pull Kovarci. It came from the blessing, which was either the Kovarci or the Nikki. Was not too happy about it, but maybe it kind of grows on me. Is something that someone said. Well, in this case, we're going to be showcasing it in Siege. I will be doing an RTA video later. People have, of course, mentioned the combination with the Tanjiro. I don't have the Tanjiro, but I have this one, so that would totally work. I have checked some data on this, though. It doesn't look like the craziest of win rates. Like, it's one of those teams, if it works, looks crazy good. But most of the time, you just have a lot of Shiho Megumi issues and mainly more Shiho issues, which is the most picked unit in game right now. Whereas the combination of Kovarci plus this thing only has a 35% win rate into. But that is for a future video. Still have to rerun that on RTA, which will be quite a bit of reruning. For this video, we will be showcasing Kovarci in Siege. I have 3 different versions where I can use him in. For some, it's more of a glorified Bastet. In other ones, it's a little bit better, but maybe also a glorified Fran. And I also do have an option for an arena offense that I have in mind. But for this video, first going to be showing all of my Siege hits, plus how I ruin those things. Then going to be talking about the different Kovarci styles that I could use for Siege. And then also looking at that arena offense that might be pretty decent, actually. For the first hit of the day, we're going to have the Galleon. It is a crit rate Galleon with max accuracy and on Violent. I like the Violent in case he misses any defense break and he has a 22% chance to still go for a skill 1. This thing is just super fast, and then this thing is just pretty high on the attack. You get a lot of crit damage in here, so therefore you want to go for attack increasing effects both sides. And it's one of those hits, if everything lands, it is a very fast hit. If it doesn't have everything landing, it could be kind of bad. In this case, we did land everything, and we're nuking everything down for 60k plus. Easy kill. Next hit is still my favorite Siege offense team I have. As always, this thing fast, this thing going for pure damage on speed increasing, this thing going for pure damage on a speed increasing as well. The great thing about this one over a water series is that a light series does get a shit ton of speed. So I just killed that one with the idea I'll just go kill it twice. Like, there's no issue if I just have to kill it twice. Plus, I already lap, and the skill 1 of this is absolutely crazy strong as well. Especially if you already have a speed buff, attack buff, then there's just so much damage coming in. But also, if you have a lot of passive stacking, at some point, you just notice like how much damage a simple skill 1 is doing, where I don't even have speed buff, so the artifacts don't even work. This thing is so good if it's stacked. Next hit is a fairly typical one, but I have it just above like the edge of your normal ticks. And the reason that I go just above those is because a lot of defenses are exactly on tick. And because they are exactly on tick, there's very good odds that if I go slightly above tick, that I'm going to be outspeeding the whole team, or I'm going to be underspeeding the whole team, but at least it is kind of equal on that ground. In this case, I think his whole team was exactly on that tick, or it was just 1 tick faster, but in this case, full non-will team makes this thing fairly easy to just hit everything all the time, all at once. Could it have been that they are on Swift? Yes, but they could have only potentially stripped 1 unit. And this team is very particular on, I kind of just need 2 out of the 3 units to kill things. Also, I guess that this was a full-on tanky team, because I've never seen a Narsha on defense break do this little damage. That's the lowest damage I've ever seen, but the unit was kind of tanky, I guess. Then the Bastet hit, while more the LD single target nuker hits. In this case, I can actually place Kovarci. Only thing is with Kovarci, Kovarci only has a 20 boost, where this thing is a 30 boost. So I would have to up the speeds of these two by actually a fair substantial amount to actually get there. Plus, there's 1 base speed less on this unit, so therefore the lead will give a less speed, and therefore also the Swift will give 1 less speed, because that's percentages that round up. And the moment you're 100, it's 25. The moment you're 101, it's 26. And then these, of course, are just full-on nukers. Also, in the case if I were to add a Kovarci on the 3rd, I would probably put shield on here, because then I don't need will runes, because I'm just adding the will runes for that 5% extra damage per beneficial effect, which is more than me just adding in blade. Kovarci would also enable it where I can probably ping-pong a little bit more on the skills of the Ian, because Ian does get his skills back pretty fast. Well, actually, both of them get their skills back pretty fast. In this case, that thing did not die. If I were to do that with a Kovarci and I would have to add more speed to them, that thing would not die for sure. So that's kind of on the thing where I was deciding not to use this team for the Kovarci comp, because I would probably have to make these units plus 200 speed. Because the moment I would have to make this unit plus 200 speed or even more, which might be the case on a 20 boost rather than a 30 boost on this kind of speed, that might be pretty darn bad. So I think I'd rather keep this one on the Bastet. So this is not really my Kovarci team, but I'll give it a try later as well. Then this is the actual Kovarci team, and the only damage dealer is going to be that Mieng in this case. I have it damage on light because it is able to outspeed Laura's on 24 lead. On 28 lead, it's a little bit on the dangerous side, but I would outspeed most of them because I have pretty decent speed runes at it. I don't need that much of speed increasing effect in this case because I also have the Kovarci boost, which just gives a lot of value over there. But I still want to add a good bit of damage and also a little bit of protection over there. This thing is also on crit rate, just to add as much damage as possible as well, because this thing actually deals a shit ton of damage, as you will see. And then the Kovarci is as fast as possible with speed increasing effect both sides. I can go up to a 53 speed increasing, which is pretty nice. But it is already the case that this chilling is 1 or 2 speed too fast for this Kovarci. Once again, Kovarci 100 base, it's kinda ass. But let's see how that looks like in a hit. So in this case, we're outspeeding a 33 lead 115 unit that's arguably potentially fast. And I think you can convincingly do this pretty often. I don't know the exact, like, how much speed they could have that I still outspeed. But I think in often case you can. Chill thing you can do with this, Sylvia will always target the Kovarci, leave these 2 units alone, so therefore the strip on the Sylvia doesn't do anything on me. This thing doesn't strip, and I can kill the stripper. So this team is mainly built, I can kill the stripper. How much damage are we looking at? 15k per hit, so that's pretty solid damage. Should take out most units if they're not crazy tank. He will fully focus that, but this is where the real damage come in. It's 7.7k per hit. That unit is like a Mieng, but every turn. It doesn't have cooldowns. It's so stupid how much damage this chilling is doing. Because there's so many buffs on this chilling. Chilling just rocks in so much speed, so much additional damage artifacts, plus the crit rate and crit damage that's on the thing. It just does an insane amount of damage. I've seen this team getting some struggles here and there. There's some counters to it or ways that you could counter this team. But as of so far, I'm actually quite liking this team. This has quite a bit of potential. This is a siege where I rocked in a lot of Tiana hits. Of course, you can also just place a Galleon over here and then just have the Chunk Pong full on damage. But in this case, I kind of do both. I like to have the max accuracy on these kind of units just to add a little bit more flavor to it where I can actually land my debuffs in case they are randomly 100 res. And then after that is just adding as much damage as possible. In this case, I would say that a Maximilian does do better than a Galleon, but a Galleon might have been pretty nice as well. I do land all debuffs. On the right side, there is a Valeska, which is always a little bit dangerous if it does tend to get skills off. But I think in most cases, the Tiana would survive. I guess that there were minus wind, otherwise it would have done more damage over there. It is a little bit of a tricky hit if Maximilian doesn't land the defense breaks, but in most cases, it's fine. Then another hit with a chilling over there, using a whole bunch of chillings these days. I could actually up the crit rate on this chilling as well, but that part is kind of fine too. With a Gemini and then also a Legolasser. Gemini is a lot easier to do because of the 106 base. It's using pretty much similar-ish speed increasing effects. But this one is actually in tune, whereas the Kovarci wasn't in tune, mainly due to the fact of just lower base speed by itself. And as long as this lands, it's like insta-kill. Even if you don't land and the units on the enemy side are relatively squish, it could still be more than that. That's how strong this Legolas is. Because we're looking at 26k per hit, and I guess that both of these are minus win targets. This one is not, so I'm just dealing like close to, what, 66k, which is just crazy numbers right there. And probably also go for a Legolas in the SWC scroll that's coming later, because more of these hits would be cool. As I mentioned, they do a lot of Tiana hits over there. In this case, with the Nefties, that's also on seal. It has a bit of crit damage, crit rate, and attack in there with additional damage artifacts. This thing is also, once again, high on the accuracy S3. It doesn't have full on the accuracy S2. But then also just a lot of damage. And this thing is a little bit weird, but it's good for the S2. Maybe a crit damage more or something would be more interesting on the left side. But then again, hey, it is a something. And as long as you outspeed, and there were a whole bunch of teams that was like, I'm pretty convincing I would outspeed this. There ain't no way that you're gonna make that whole team on Swift. We did miss on the middle one, actually missed on the middle and the right, which is not that great, but the seal and silences just make it very safe, and therefore I really do like the seal on the Nefty. And then there's 2 more hits, which are hidden offenses, which doesn't matter that much for this video, but let's look at some more Kovarci offense potentials. So the team that most people did mention to me right away is like, oh, you can replace the Bastet, but since this is a 20 boost rather than a 30 boost, let me actually calculate how fast I need to make these 2 to be in tune. Okay, just did the calculation. It is not as bad as I thought. I would have to add 13 speed on the Ian and 13 speed on the Cassandra, which would definitely lower the damage output by a lot, but it is somewhat doable. However, we did already see where it could be tanked by this team already, whereas I have the high damage setup on it right now, which is a little bit tricky. It does provide more immunity for longer time, which makes it a little bit nicer against certain things. However, this is still one of those teams in most cases. I kill 2 units and then the 1 unit that's left over is really not that dangerous. So it's not as bad. I can definitely go in a rotation where I do both skills. Can we check the skills or if they're available? Yeah, I could throw this S2 on either or right now and I would have it available right here. So it is kind of nice, but since we're already killing 2 units right away, the 3v1, I don't really need that skill back for the 3v1. Like in the 3v1, I'm gonna win anyways, right? So it is a nice thing, but it's not really a must, so I think I'll probably keep the Bastet in there. Then there's of course this hit, which would outspeed most things. You have 28 lead on a very fast unit and you have a lot of damage. I think I will most likely be using this a lot because I have one different team, but it also does use my Kiara in a slightly different version. So I can still use both the Kiara team and the other team at the same time while having that. So in this case, we can just simply boost, we can outspeed. If we were to kill this in one hit, then we have the attention fully on this unit right there, where we can just start cleaning up the others. And as I mentioned before, that thing has absolute stupid for damage. In this case, most of the time, what I tend to do is go for an S3. So I have prolonged buffs over here. And then from here, 9k per hit. That's just... It's stupid how much damage that chilling does, man. He has no reason to deal more damage than pretty much the Mieng on S2. That's just so fucking stupid. But yeah, this team seems pretty darn strong, but is very hefty on the rune requirement. But it's also the most free-to-play teams of the Kovarci teams that I have. Because the other idea that I had was this, which makes it where I can place Kiara on a very low speed, still have enough damage. I could potentially even throw a shield at it. But I have that shield plus fights over here. This is enough to be in tune to a Kabila that's this kind of speed, which is pretty darn insane. However, for elemental-wise, it might be not the best thing out there because in this case, the elements are not really protecting you as much. It also kind of does depend what you're fighting. But in this case, the damage output of that is an 87.8k, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's so freaking much damage. But in this case, I could definitely get messed up by any of the units hitting me at the right moment, that kind of shenanigans. I can go for protection myself. That is definitely a thing where you have a little bit of a comeback mechanic, which could make it pretty darn strong. But yeah, do I really need to do 82k damage on a team like this? It's kind of cool though, but it uses Kiara, which is definitely a little bit of an issue. You could go for a slower version where you just put an Odin over here and then you can go super low on crit rate. But then you don't have the speed lead. But you could still do a similar team like this if you just want to use a Kovarci and a fast booster and then an Odin. Because in the end, a Kabila booster can outspeed a lot of things even if they're on like 24 lead. So something like this is relatively outspeedable if you're fast enough because you're checking a 24 lead against a 21 lead and a equal base. But if you have a lot of faith in your Swift runes, then you could definitely do this. So in this case, of course, we go for the boost and then we go for the kill over here. None of these two units have a strip, but they have potentially a lot of damage, especially on that left side. But they start using a whole bunch of skills that just don't add too much. In this case, we can just go for a boost over here, clear out one more unit over there, and then just go for this. If we want to have a final bit of protection over here, of course, that does some decent damage too. This skill 1 would kill, but I could go for Battlecry if he doesn't have any strips then. He's fighting all kinds of endures right now, so he can't really kill me. So in the end, for siege offense hits, there are some decent options. I will most likely use the most free-to-play option, which is double water unit next to it with the Mieng and the chilling, because it enables my Kiara that does do a very good damage to still be on the Bastet ENT. For arena offense, I'll leave this for a future video or future arena rush, but I might be thinking about something like this. It is a little bit premium, but I think it might actually be really darn strong. Sure, you're trying to outspeed things on the 21 lead on a Kabila, which is definitely not the fastest out there. But if people go on a more plus something else, I would definitely be bound to outspeed them. Like, let's say they go more plus a Zhongcheng Lao. I feel somewhat confident I can outspeed a more Zhongcheng Lao with this. So it might have some niche usage right there. And I, of course, could also do a similar team like this. But this definitely does require, as I mentioned before, a hefty outspeed on this. So the Kabila version is actually a lot easier. But that will be for a future arena rush. If you have any other cool ideas for either siege offense, siege defense, arena offense, let me know in the comments. Also for what kind of comp would you like me to see it play in RTA. I will be reruning RTA later tonight, maybe streaming later tonight. Otherwise, stream will be of RTA Kovarci tomorrow. Video of that will probably be in like a day or two. So if you don't want to miss that, subscribe to the channel, and like this video, and see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.